Instead, sit quietly, get the meditation, and practice it. And refine your inner ground from God. It's the inner light from God. You need to find God's light. When you do that, and you love that light, and you walk in that light, then He takes care of the rest of it. See, you've always tried to save yourself. That's another mistake. It's an interesting thing I've been realizing lately, and it's so subtle. It's very difficult to talk about. But I can see that sin, whatever sin is, it's a package deal. It's a total thing. Whatever sin is, it comes in slowly, ever so slowly, as the days and weeks and months and years and decades roll by, and it takes you over completely. So you have no more will of your own. And then it prevents you. See? When it gets inside of you, it doesn't want you to meditate properly. It will lead you to all the wrong meditations. Or it'll say something like, you're not ready yet. See, it won't work for you. You've sinned too much. You're beyond hope. It'll say stuff like that. Or it'll lead you toward the wrong kind. It'll lead you toward the kind that seem very acceptable, but don't really do the job. Something about it, and then it won't want you to meditate. When you start meditating, your mind suddenly, strange thoughts will arise, or images, or it'll pull you into it. It'll pull you into sleep. It does not want you to meditate properly. It doesn't want you to call upon God. It doesn't want you to sit quietly. It doesn't want you to see that it's there within you. And it is unholy. It's always trying to convince you that you're no good, that you're wrong, that you're bad. See? No, you really have never done anything wrong. The only thing you've ever done is what you've been tempted to do, enticed to do, challenged to do, upset to do. See? Compelled to do. And what others do, and you follow them. See? You've never had a choice. And it's always been there. It's always been there since you were little. Always there, compelling you somehow or other. And the games and the tricks that it plays are endless. It'll tell you if you don't hold your breath and count to 10, or if you don't scratch your nose, then something terrible will happen to your mother. If you don't jerk your head, then something awful will happen. And it is capable of creating within you a psychic pressure, a psychic anxiety. It's capable of doing that. So now you see what you need is objectivity. See? So you're not lost in that sort of thing, but stand back from it. And when you stand back from it in God's light and observe it, now you have the light. It cringes from the light. It burns in the light. The light restrains it, pushes it down, disenfranchises it, takes away breaks that bond that it's had with you. And what is that bond? Doubt. You doubted what's right. And anger, resenting other people. See? When you stop doing those, then it becomes disturbed. It wants to convince you that you are the one that's disturbed, that you're afraid. No, it's not your fear, it's its fear. Fear of coming to the light. Fear of being dissolved into nothingness or sent back to hell. See? So, meditate. God takes care of all that. You don't have to worry about it. There's nothing for you to do. Nothing. Christ said, of myself, I can do nothing. There's nothing for you to do. Just meditate. And God will give you a little bit, He will give you a little distance. He will hold that in abeyance. He will give you time. He will restore joy, and then more joy, and peace of mind. Yeah, there'll be times where things are somewhat what's the word to use? troubling. Sure, but now you know how to handle it. Just watch it. Watch it until it passes. Watch it until it passes. Somehow you know that he's there. You suspect. You know somehow. Without knowing how you know, you just know that God is there. And he's watching over you. And bad things can't hurt you. Sure, they can be like the Wizard of Oz. Remember the Wizard of Oz? Finally, the Wizard of Oz was trying to scare Dorothy. Remember there was this big face, I am the Wizard of Oz. And then Dorothy's dog Toto went and pulled the curtain back, and it was just this little old man in there working controls. See? Loudspeaker and visual things. Same with it. Just learn to watch. Watch all the games, all the tricks. Watch it, just observe it. And it will pass. And you will be safe. And eventually it'll be gone. Wake up one morning, and the turmoil that you once had, it's not there anymore. The anxiety you once had, it's not there. The unhappiness you had is not there. The compulsive thoughts are not there. See, they're not there. The hate, you thought you hated someone. They made funny noises. Whenever anybody made a certain noise, you hated it. You felt this terrible pressure inside welling up. You thought it was you. It wasn't. It was it. All the bad things, the bad thoughts, it's always been it. Now all you have to do is just stand back. Call upon God. Rely upon him. Practice the meditation. And there's no hand of man in it. It's very simple. And how can it be so simple? Because it restores you to something like what you once had a long time ago when you were a child, before you were upset. You had the gift from God, the gift of intuition. Okay? And you still have it, but you've fallen away from it. You've fallen into the imagination and into emotions. See? So now, return to the simple meditation that restores you very simply to the heavenly estate. Christ said, unless you become as a little child, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. So refine that original sweetness, that innocence that you had. Realize that all the corruption, all the things you've done wrong, okay, it's all been it operating through you. The spirit of the world, if you want. The world entered and it operated through you. Now just see that and cling to God. And then watch the magic. As now, see, close to him, he now very gently guides you to the right things that are good for you, and so that you can find your purpose for existence. Becomes a wonderful journey of adventure, of overcoming. One victory, and then another, and then another, and then another. And then the final prize, knowing God and living forever.